Why did that? Oh, there we go. All right. Welcome to Masculine Geek number 168. This is the Fireside Chats Random Geekery. Now, initially, we were going to have Brandon, and he goes by Brash1 on Twitter. We've had him on Masculine Geek before. I think it's been about 2 years. He had a year off hiatus, almost a year off hiatus on Twitter. And then we started talking again, chatting. I'm like, hey, you need to come back on. And this was months ago. And then he was going. He's a lawyer, and there's some things he had to take care of business wise, so that got put off. And then we finally settled on a date, and that was for today. And then he had some electrical problems where he lives, and he was only able to join us audio via his phone. So I said, we'll reschedule so we can get you on video.
Isn't he a former cop as well?
He is. He's a former police officer and now turned attorney. So that's cool. And it's funny because we were talking before the show. My water got turned off because there was a hot water line break.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fucking cold showers this morning for me. Oh, and on top of that, one of the wind, not windscreen. It's like a one of the covers on the inside of a wheel well. That does something with keeping down the air, the wind flow or airflow or something. That was ripped off and rattling against my wheel as I was riding, and I didn't know what the fuck it was. And I'm on the highway, so I'm like, shit, I can pull over. It's fucking traffic. Let me just go right to the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran the car over to the dealership, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again: cultivate relationships with customer service people, whether that's your favorite restaurant or somebody at the library, or if you go out to a nightclub, or if you're going to your mechanic, tip them well. As soon as I pulled up, the dude William came out, clipboard in hand, waiting to find out why I was there. And I told him, we'll get you right in. If we have to, we'll get you a loaner vehicle. And we're taking a look at the wheel, and I'm like, oh shit, that's what that is. And it was, I could see the plastic part just flapping there. I'm like, that's what's doing it. So all right, cool. He's like, I'll get you in and out. So I was there about half an hour, not even that. So yeah, cultivate, tip well. I mean, obviously, if there's bad service, say something. Don't be a dick. But make sure you tip, because people remember that. They appreciate it. And especially with your car, last minute shit. Anytime I've had last minute stuff that had to be done, lightning fast, and I got what I wanted. And I'm not talking like $5 tips. I'm talking anywhere between $25 and $50.
Yeah.
People fucking remember that, and they appreciate it, because no one else does that. No one. What's up, everyone? Chat's already filling in.
Has it gone off the rails yet, or it's?
No, not yet. It's Alex.
Oh, okay.
Chris and Geeky.
Okay.
Good evening. What are you drinking, if anything, Robert?
At the moment, I'm just having some water. Today's one of those days that I don't eat a lot of food. I just drink a lot of water and do some exercises. So that kind of stuff doesn't change. But
cool.
So that's all I'm having at the moment. I am sitting next to my bottle of bourbon, but
okay, it's near. It's at least near you.
Yeah, it's near me. I got more down below. My office right now is a bit of a shambles because I was tearing down some stuff and moving some stuff around. So it's I have a few things packed in here, figuring out if it's going to be taking up permanent residence here or if it's just going to go somewhere else in the house. One nice thing about being able to put stuff pretty much wherever I want.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
we were just talking, and we can mention it again. You've got new old posters.
Yes, over the weekend I was at a convention, ran into a dealer who had some vintage movie posters, and you got to be kind of careful about that. Usually, you can tell when they're replicas, but there are several dealers at conventions that sell posters, and they look authentic. And then when you buy the poster, that what they're giving you is a copy of it, and it's
okay.
I have a couple. Well, no, at the moment I only have one. I have one reproduction poster, and that is my Seven Samurai poster.
Okay.
But I've got some other Kurosawa films that they're the actual posters from Japan, and then everything else I've got is a real legitimate issued to a movie theater or drive-in poster. And in particular, the ones that mean the most to me are my older vintage posters. So, I've got Heavy Metal, which is like from 1980, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, which came out in 72, and then the Hammer Studios Ingrid Pitt, Vampire Lovers. So, lesbian vampires, what's not to love about that? But yeah, those are the three newest ones to my collection. But also I got my vintage The Warriors poster and a vintage Xanadu poster autographed by Michael Beck, who played Sonny Malone in Xanadu with Gene Kelly and Olivia Newton-John, and played the character of Swan, war chief of the Warriors. So that was cool meeting him. He was super, super nice.
Cool.
Talked about making out with Olivia Newton-John, which
nice.
Well,
not many people can say that.
Yeah, him and John Travolta, although I think he probably appreciated it more if the rumors of John Travolta are true. But anyway, not to go into all that, and I don't really care. But no, he I was talking to him about the scene with her, their kiss in the movie, and I'm like, you did flub that up, so you had to do a couple of retakes of that, didn't you? And he's like, that was the one day my fiance, who's now his like wife of 24, 25 years, that was the one day his fiance flew out from New York to visit him and come down to the set and see him, was the day that he did that scene. So it was one and done. But still, kissing Olivia Newton-John once is one more time than I have. So
right.
But oh well, so I can't knock him.
No, exactly. Geeky, yes, you're correct. One of the wine bars that I go to and I do my writing at, they know me by everyone. Almost everyone at the bar knows me by name. I have my own little spot. I tip very well, and I get free drinks and free food all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's no wait for me. It's nice to cultivate those relationships and to be polite, firm but polite, and treat the wait staff like human beings.
Yeah.
So
just remembering their name goes a long way.
Absolutely. And frequently calling them by their name.
Yeah.
That's an important thing. They always ask me about my motorcycle. Oh, where is it? If I ride it, I bring my helmet in. They'll say, oh, where? Let's see it. That's really cool. We'll talk about bikes. Some of the waitresses want to go on rides. So that's even better. So, but that's another thing I will not do. I'm not going to date. If I have a place that I want to be my ritual, I'm not going to date the waitresses, the bar stewardesses. Have no idea, no plans on doing that.
No, you don't ever want to poison that well.
No. Cool. Employee cookouts. I've never heard of such a thing, but I assume they all hang out and do that kind of thing on like birthdays and holidays and stuff. Especially small places.
Yeah.
Family-owned places are really cool for that kind of thing. That's cool.
There was a time in this country where businesses having like company picnics and cookouts and stuff was fairly common. My dad worked for Wonder Bread, and all through the 70s up into like the very early 80s until they were purchased by another company, they had company picnics and cookouts, and where they played softball and everything else. And since Wonder Bread and Hostess cakes were connected, that meant there were all the Hostess snack cakes you could eat, plus all the sugary drinks. Back when drinks actually had sugar in them and not
real sugar syrup. Yeah.
And hamburgers, hot dogs, and the lot. And all kinds of different guys that worked there. And of course, the younger single guys all had really nice cars. So there were at least one or two guys that had like the Starsky and Hutch car when that series was on the air, or they had a Camaro or a Corvette even. It was just, and heard a lot of really interesting stories and stuff after the fact that back in the day there was this whole almost secondary barter economy between the married guys that worked for the various companies that delivered, like, Pepsi, Coke, milkmen, bread men, cake men, etc. Where, because they made decent livings, but when you've got a family that you're taking care of, the money only stretches so far. So loaves of stale bread or stale cakes would come home, and also that kind of stuff would get traded. So the Pepsi guy would give you a case of soda, and you'd give him a couple loaves of bread, and little things like that. So I miss the America I grew up in. So
yeah, it kind of sucks a lot. And going back to that employee gathering things and food and drink and whatnot, I've been doing a lot of research on taverns and alcohol, and going back to colonial times. Come to find out that alcohol was a very important part of daily work life, because up until, and I forget the time frame for it, before the people got all pissed off and started changing things, and you get the temperance movements and whatnot. The work day before the 5-day work week. The work week was 6 days, sometimes 7, but usually 6. With obviously Sunday, the seventh day being off on Sunday for worship and whatnot. The work day was about anywhere between 12 to 16 hours, and there were a lot of breaks, and they were alcohol breaks. Alcohol was pre-industrial work life, incorporated alcohol, beer and ale and rum with your work, and it was more often than not, provided by your employer. This was a thing.
Wow.
It was an amazing thing, and then that all changed with temperance movements. Basically, women fucking shit up,
as they are wont to do,
and men wanting to get laid, so they go along with the women,
as we are wont to do.
Exactly. So, and beer wasn't a huge deal even in colonial America, despite what Ben Franklin said about beer being, God's gift to everybody. They were ales. The Germans brought over Pilsner late 17, early 1800s. And the Pilsner, so you had these temperance movements trying to say the alcohol, because of the alcohol content, it was kind of fucking shit up, and it was, it was getting in the way and making men beasts, and it was unhealthy for you. But the Pilsner had a lower alcohol content. So the anti-temperance movements were like, look, this amazing elixir from Germany, this not Pilsner, the lagers. Lagers. They were less alcohol content. So there's less alcohol content was used as saying, hey, this is better for you, and it's more nutritious. So that's how they got around that and kept pushing the alcohol as far as the thing to drink, keeping the taverns and inns alive before and speakeasies existed long before the Prohibition. Speakeasy just meant it was a establishment selling alcohol with no license. And they go back
as it should be.
Exactly. And they go back as far, at least on record, prior to like 1848. So
It's ridiculous that anybody should have to ask the government for permission to do business, to be able to sell a product or service to anybody else.
Yeah.
Leave that any quality standards, consumer protection to private organizations. It'll work much better.
Yeah. And what are you drinking there, Drew? Is that water?
Mountain Dew.
Well, at least you got a
Diet
D&D.
Mountain
You got a D&D drink. I'm the only one. I got a gin and tonic. So
I'm all set for the. Speaking of D&D, 2 more used fines.
Oh, yeah, that's a great book.
Mm.
Yeah.
and the role-playing mastery. So
Yep.
going to be
Both
digging into these next.
Awesome. So is that the weight set behind you that you're getting rid of, or
That bench that's standing on its end is staying. The pull down low row combo is going. The bench way in the back corner is going. The deadlift platform is going. Power rack is going. We're replacing all the free weight stuff with hammer strength machines.
now the pull down,
hammer strength machines?
the actual pull itself, are you keeping that? Because isn't that the one you had custom made?
I had the handle made, so I'm keeping the handle, but the rest of it's going. Everything is, we're just replacing the whole thing.
Okay. Is the new set going to work better with your with what you do as far as your not just your personal strength training, but also what you talk about with your on your own courses and stuff?
Way better. There is, I don't, well, stop me if I start going off too long on this. There is,
I'm kidding, good.
There's this belief. A lot of people think that free weights are superior to machines for building muscular strength and size. And a lot of the misconceptions are based on assumptions about the need to involve more muscles for stabilization, which is nonsense. Just because a muscle is involved in an exercise doesn't mean that it is effectively stimulated to get bigger and stronger. The degree to which an exercise stimulates your body to improve the strength and size of a muscle depends on how hard that muscle is worked during the exercise and how deeply it is fatigued within a certain time. If you're performing an exercise, for example, a barbell press standing instead of sitting, well, when you're standing, you have more muscles involved in stabilizing the body in an upright position. There's a little bit more of a balance challenge, but none of the muscles that are involved in balancing are being worked hard. If you are in balance, it is because your center of gravity is over your base. The lever against the muscles that are keeping it there is relatively small. The muscles that are working to balance you aren't working hard enough that they're benefiting from it, but you have to devote some of your attention to maintaining your balance in addition to performing the exercise movement. It is a negative. It detracts from rather than improves the exercise for the target muscle groups. An exercise should be judged on how efficiently and safely it works the muscle groups that are being targeted. And any exercise should be focused on specific muscle groups, not an attempt to work the whole body, because then you just end up compromising the effectiveness of it. So if it detracts from the focus on the target muscle groups, because you have to devote some of your attention to standing and embracing yourself, that's a negative. To go from a standing barbell press to a seated barbell press is an improvement, because you minimize, or not minimize, but you reduce the instability. You provide additional stability, so you don't have to focus as much on that. You can devote more focus to the exercise movement, the target muscles. Another degree of improvement would strain the path of the arms. Instead of having a barbell, which is free to move in any direction, which requires additional control, if you have a machine with levers instead of cables aren't a whole lot better than using a bar. If you have a machine with rigid levers, you still have some freedom of movement because you can move your body in the machine. But assuming that you maintain proper positioning, the path of movement is constrained to the correct path of movement based on the functions of the joints that the target muscles are acting on. When that is constrained and you are braced and supported, you can devote almost all of your focus to the contraction of the target muscles. You still do have to focus on how you're moving, because although the end point in a compound or multi-joint movement is constrained, there's still different things you can do with your elbows and torso that are wrong. But for every additional constraint, it reduces the distraction from your focus on the contraction of the target muscles. It improves the exercise. Most people have this completely backwards. The idea that you need to have instability or involvement of stabilizer muscles and that makes exercise better is nonsense. The belief that barbell movements somehow transfer or that strength from barbell movement somehow transfers better to other activities is also complete nonsense. Strength, regardless of how it is built, is general. If you increase the strength of a muscle, its ability to produce force, and that's the muscle's strength is its ability to produce force. How much force the muscle can contract with, not how much weight you can lift in a particular movement. That's not strength. That is the performance of a lift, which is a combination of the strength of the muscles involved in specific skill and adaptations. So it doesn't matter how you build the strength. It is general. It transfers to everything. The only thing that is specific is skill. And the skill of performing a barbell movement is not going to transfer to anything else. There's absolutely no advantage of performing a barbell exercise that there's nothing that it does for you that you can't do just as effectively or more effectively and more safely with a machine. It improves the exercise significantly. The advantage of a barbell as a tool rather than for any particular exercise is that they are inexpensive, relatively speaking. You can, they take up less space, they cost less, and you can use a barbell to perform a huge variety of exercises, only a handful of which are worthwhile. A lot of people perform dozens of exercises that are absolutely fucking stupid, to put it mildly. But I would have started out with machines, but when we started the gym a couple of years ago in our old place, it was just what I could afford at the time, and anytime I could afford better equipment. I'd sell the old stuff and I'd get new equipment, gradually build it, and in a position now where I can get hammer strength machines, and I could go on and on about plate loaded versus selectorized. The plate loaded machines were selected partly because they have much less friction than most selectorized machines, which is an important factor. The resistance curves are comparable to a lot of other commercial machines, and they're a lot less of a hassle to move. And we're going to be moving again in a couple of years. And I would much rather move a bunch of plate loaded machines, which I can easily take apart and move myself if I have to, than moving selectorized machines with weight stacks. They are generally a pain in the ass, especially the bigger ones. And the only significant advantage, I shouldn't say the only, there's a bunch of them, but one of the biggest advantages of having a selectorized machine instead of a plate loaded machine is speed. If I have to change the weights, I pull the pin, I put the pin in a different plate. If I have to change the weights on a plate loaded machine, I'm moving a bunch of plates around. That's not a big deal at home because there's only a few of us working out here. We're not going to be moving things around. I don't have to wait for some dumbass sitting on the bench, twiddling his phones, doing
hate that shit.
Taking the selfie of, look at me, I'm working out. I'm in a gym.
Yeah, so I can set up all my machines in advance. I can load up the weights, do my workout, I'm done. If you go to a gym, you can't actually work out in a time efficient manner because there's so many people doing so much dumb shit that you sit around waiting for. So I can do everything I need here, but it'll be nicer having the machines. It will be, without going off into a whole another long tangent, because it allows for so much better focus just on the contraction of the target muscles, it will provide a little bit of an advantage in terms of the exercise effectiveness. I'm excited to get back to machine training, freeweight training, properly used, and I rarely see it properly used, but if a person actually uses a barbell properly, it is an incredibly effective tool. But machines have a lot of advantages. If you can afford them, if you get the space for them, good ones, it's the way to go. One last thing on that, though, good ones. Part of the reason that you get some people say, oh, machines, they're no good and everything. A lot of machines out there are garbage. People have this idea that machines are some just homogenous group that most people don't know shit about exercise to begin with, including most gym owners and personal trainers. Not enough to know the difference. And they don't know enough about exercise to know the requirements for exercise machine design. But machines are not just some homogenous group. There are some it's like cars. You have Rolls Royces and Mercedes Benz. You get nicer cars, and then you've got Yugos.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of commercial exercise equipment, there's just shit. There are design flaws that anybody who actually understands this stuff they'd want to slap the shit out of the people that built them, because it's absolutely stupid. It is absolutely stupid. A lot of commercial exercise equipment is just very poorly designed. Manufacturing has improved over the past few decades, but designs have not. In fact, there's more gimmicky bullshit now than ever. Like one brand, Hoist, has these machines that have this rocking motion, which they claim improves the biomechanics. It doesn't. It is generally
look like
just
jackass.
They're stupid. They're absolutely stupid. I'll keep talking if people want me to keep talking about this. But
This is cool. This is Jim Geekery.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest mistakes that people make with exercise machine design is not taking advantage of all the things that you can do with a machine. And instead of looking at the problem to be solved and designing a machine with all of the advantages that a machine offers to address the problem, they look at older solutions with inferior equipment and try to mimic it. And one example is a chest fly. If the only thing that you have to perform a chest fly is dumbbells, you have to hold them in your hands. You lie on the bench with your arms out to the side and you bring your hands in.
Right.
That is not ideal. If you have a machine, you can apply the resistance directly to the distal end of the limb being acted on by the target muscles. You can build a chest fly machine so that it has pads that go on the upper arms so that you are contracting against those. You are not transmitting the forces through the elbows. You don't have to worry about a grip. This is advantageous if you've got somebody who might have a wrist or hand issue and they can't bench, they can't do dumbbell chest flies. But if you have a properly designed chest fly machine, they can use that. If you design the machine to mimic the dumbbell movement instead of actually applying the resistance directly to the limb being acted on by the target muscles, that person can't use that. Another stupid example of this is torso rotation. Actually, torso rotation is not correct. It's torso torsion, because the entire torso is not rotating. The upper torso is rotating relative to the pelvis. So you are torsioning or twisting your pelvis. Torso rotation is wrong. It should be a trunk or torso twist or torsion, not rotation. But anyways, you want to apply the resistance directly to the torso, not have to go through the arms holding handles out here. I've seen this. Leg curl machines. This is the stupidest one, and it's stupid because the answer has been around since the 1980s. Actually, at least the mid-1980s. At Nautilus, and there's a little controversy over this regarding who came up with the idea, but at Nautilus, a couple different people have been working on a leg curl that was a seated leg curl that had what's called a coupled movement arm. You familiar with a force couple?
I think so.
Okay, you have the application of forces that are in parallel but offset.
Right.
If you have a seated leg curl machine, and actually any machine, if you contract your muscles, you're applying a force to something. If you push or pull something, it pulls or pushes you back. Reaction force.
Right.
When you're using a machine, the reaction force will tend to push you out of proper positioning or alignment if there isn't a pad, a belt, whatever there to provide bracing and prevent that. On a leg curl machine, when you initiate the movement, when you begin flexing your knees, you are pressing down against the pad with the back of your lower legs.
Right.
So the reaction force is up. It will tend to cause your thighs to come up off of the seat. The seats are another problem. And then as the knees flex further and you're pulling more back than down, it tends to pull you forward.
Right.
A simple and the best solution to this is to use what is called a coupled movement arm. And Nautilus has these on their seated leg curls. There's a pad behind the ankles, and there's another pad that is connected to the movement arm that is on the shins just below the knees.
Mhm.
So the one pad is under and behind the ankles. The other is in front of, on the shin, just below the knee. So
Right.
as you're rotating, the pad that is on the upper front of the shin prevents the reaction force from moving the knees out of alignment.
Okay.
That is the way to do it. That is the best way to do it. They've been doing it since the 1980s. It works great. But some other companies have leg curl machines, which instead of using a coupled movement arm and a belt to also help resist the reaction force from pulling you forward, they have this pad that locks down on top of your thighs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
a
I've
set
seen
of
those.
handles. And that is a stupid fucking idea. And it's stupid because, one, if it's pushing down, then you also need to have the seat extend to just about to the end of the thighs.
Mhm.
That's fine for leg extension, not a leg curl. On a leg curl, you want the seat to be as short as possible.
Mhm.
It should be just long enough that a short person is able to sit on it without sliding off. You have to have your ischial tuberosities, the bones at the bottom of your pelvis, on the edge of the seat. If you got a shorter person, their knees have to be here. So the shorter they are, the further forward their hips are. The seat
Right.
has to be just long enough to accommodate a short person. No longer. Because otherwise, if you have a seat that extends all the way out on a seated leg curl, you're sitting on your hamstrings while you're trying to contract them.
Okay.
Then if you have another pad that comes down on top of the thighs and it's pushing your thighs down, it is compressing the hamstrings even more than they already would be if you just have the seat. So the seat design is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stupid to have people have to brace with their arms because your arms are attached up here, not down here.
Mm-hmm.
You're still having your pelvis slide forward unless you then contract everything
that makes sense.
all the way down. If you have a belt, you interlace your fingers, you rest them on your lap, and you keep the upper body as uninvolved as possible.
That makes sense. Okay.
It's just fucking, it's stupid. There's so many, I could go on and on.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a few examples. I mean, we could literally go through almost any gym that has typical commercial equipment, Life Fitness, Hoist, a lot of other brands. I shouldn't pick on Life Fitness. They're not the worst. They just happen to be one of the most popular.
What is a good commercial gym in your estimation?
Good commercial exercise equipment.
All right, yeah. In general, yeah. Like if you were to pick one and say, hey, if this is your only option or a plan B or whatever, you go here.
If I had to pick just one line and I couldn't go and say this machine from this line and that machine from that line, different ones. And
one location. Nobody wants to have like 5 gym memberships.
If I had to pick one, it would probably be Nautilus Nitro. The Nautilus Nitro line, and this is, I think this is almost like 15, 20 years old, but
where do they have that?
Yeah,
that's not something that you find at
commercial
Planet
gym
Fitness or something like that.
What
Where
commercial
would
gym would have that?
I know that the LA Fitness gyms had them. Some 24-hour fitness had them. Nautilus Nitro are not all perfect. There's some Nautilus Nitro machines that could be improved, but Nautilus machines in general are better than most others. Cybex machines are one of the better ones. They're also not perfect. There are some problems with some Cybex machines, but if I had to go with one, I would go with Nautilus. Hammer strength for plate loaded. If money was not an issue, there is there's tiers. You get equipment like Med-X. And you're not going to find Med-X in most commercial gyms. Med-X was founded by Arthur Jones, who was the Nautilus inventor. And they started out just designing medical testing and rehabilitation equipment. And so this is a much higher end. And you were looking at paying $30 to $70, $80-something thousand for one of these machines. And their customers were asking them to produce an exercise-only line. So they took the technology that they designed and stuff from the medical equipment, and they designed a line of exercise-only machines. And there are still some little nitpicky issues with some of these, but the Med-X machines are much better by far than most other equipment out there. And there's also a company called David Health and Fitness, and I think they're based out of Finland, but I think they do their manufacturing in Germany. And David Health and Fitness is also, they have some machines that are like, they've got this all-in-one machine that's just stupid. Anytime you try to take a bunch of exercises and combine them into a single unit, you end up making all these compromises, and it just ends up being, they're all kind of meh. Or shit at best, but their other equipment is really good. So David Health and Fitness. And then if you have a ridiculous amount of money to spend, there was a company called Renex, who is not mass producing equipment, but I believe that it's still possible to get some of the stuff built to order. But then you're looking at anywhere from like $8,000 to maybe $40,000 per machine. But these things also have load cells built into like the footboard on the leg press and the movement arms and the other machines. And they've got this big 24-inch screen, touch screen that has a readout of your force input. The Renex machines are basically what you get if you take a bunch of geniuses who actually know how to design machines and say, what could we build if we didn't care about how much it's going to cost people? So Renex
It's a shame TJ. It's a shame TJ had to bail tonight because this is up his alley now. Because he wants to be a certified fitness trainer or something. Oh, no. I know he's listening. He is listening while he's doing whatever he's doing.
So, warning about certification. Almost all of the major certifying organizations are, at least in part, if not mostly, full of shit. The American College of Sports Medicine, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, especially the National Academy of Sports Medicine, NASM. Sending somebody to NASM to get personal trainer certification is like having Casey Anthony teach you childcare. These people are morons. They're doing all this stupid functional training circus bullshit. NASM is a joke. The American Council on Exercise, ACE, one of the most popular, absolutely stupid. If you read through their personal training manual, so much of it is just garbage. ISSA, AFAA, the NSCA, basically dumb jocks, still promoting all sorts of stupid shit.
Is there anyone that is? What is good? I mean, is it
most of it is bullshit. Most of it's
garbage.
Bullshit.
Okay.
It sucks, but that's the case. If you're lucky, there are probably a handful of people that used to be involved with Nautilus or that are in that kind of lineage who get the stuff and who know what they're talking about. And I know a lot of people are, who the hell are you to say all these other people are wrong? Well, bring up a particular point or claim that they're making. I'll be glad to address it. But they get so many of the recommendations with regards to even all the way down to the root of what exercise is. Most of them don't even define exercise properly. The biggest problems with a lot of this is and that's where it starts. If you don't know what exercise is and what it's for, then how the fuck are you going to teach it? The biggest problem is the failure to distinguish between exercise and other physical activities. A lot of people have this idea that exercise is any physical activity that's somewhat demanding. And while any demanding physical activity can have an effect on the body, with exercise, we have specific goals and specific constraints. What are we trying to do with exercise? We are trying to improve the function of the human body. Well, then we have to ask, what is that we're trying to do? What are the factors of functional ability? What can we improve? You have a bunch of factors that influence your ability to perform any physical activity. Some of them are non-trainable. It's a non-issue. It's important to understand what these are so that you can understand why some people might be better or worse at some things than others. And these include things like your musculoskeletal proportions and geometry. Your skeletal structure influences leverages, it influences how well suited you are for different activities. Things like neurological efficiency, how much of any particular muscle you're able to contract all at once influences your ability to produce force. These are things that are mostly non-trainable. But then with the trainable factors, we have a couple very basic ones, and every other thing that people think of as a type of fitness or factor is just a combination of these. You have muscular strength, which is the most important. And it's the most important because it is the only factor that is directly productive. Your ability to do anything ultimately comes down to, can you contract your muscles and how well? Every other factor either supports the muscles work or it permits it. You have cardiovascular and metabolic efficiency, which is just metabolic efficiency, the efficiency of the energy pathways in the muscle that support the work the muscles are doing, and your cardiovascular efficiency, how well the cardiovascular system delivers blood to and away from the working muscles to support the work they're doing. If you place a demand on your muscles, you're going to place a demand on the cardiovascular system. Bone and connective tissue strength doesn't do anything. It just transmits the force that the muscles are producing. Flexibility doesn't do anything. It permits the muscles to move your body through some range of motion. Body composition is typically thought of as being about how you look, having, abs and having good muscle definition, but body composition, how much of your body is lean mass versus fat, is a factor of functional ability because it affects your ability to move your body around. The heavier you are relative to your strength, the harder it is to perform a lot of activities. Plus, beyond some level, fatness starts to negatively affect your range of motion because your own body fat gets in the way of some things, but also
into our eyes.
Mm-hmm. And it affects our eyes and your center of gravity. So body composition is typically thought of as a vanity thing, but it's a factor of functional ability. Now, what do we have to do to improve all of these? Well, the only thing that you can directly get at is your muscles. You can't practically you can't take your bones and put vices on them and apply force in a way that is going to be safe. But we know that if we are contracting the muscles, because the force is being transmitted through the bones and connective tissues, they're going to be stimulated to increase strength along with that. If you want to place a demand on your cardiovascular system, you have to go through your muscles. Everything that people call cardio is muscular work. The reason that the heart is working is because it has to support the extra work the muscles are doing. You can accomplish that with anything that involves demanding muscular work. It doesn't even have to be really sustained for some period of time. You just have to have a certain amount of heart rate. It's not even heart rate elevation isn't even the most important thing. It's cardiac output. People focus on heart rate because it's easier to measure, but stroke volume is also important. And the stroke volume is going to be higher with properly performed strength training than it is with most steady state activities. That's a whole nother discussion on hemodynamics. But so we know what we want. We want to improve functional ability. What do we have to do that? We have to focus on the muscles. The muscles are the window to everything else. How do we stimulate the body to produce the function or to produce an improvement in the function of any organ system? Well, we have to identify what that function is and then place a demand on that function. Your muscles' job is to produce force. If you ask a lot of people, what do the muscles do? Oh, they move you. No, they produce force. The force can be used to move you, but the force can also be used to prevent movement, to hold a posture, to carry something and resist lengthening. We need to challenge your muscles' ability to produce force. How do we do that? By contracting those muscles against a challenging level of resistance and momentarily weaken them, reducing their ability to do that job. And so we know what we have to do. And we also, again, we want to address the other systems to improve cardiovascular and metabolic conditioning. There needs to be a certain amount of metabolic and cardiovascular work so that exercises need to be of a certain duration, et cetera. So we could go on and on the requirements for doing all this, but all of these factors can be improved through strength training if it's done correctly. But we also have a constraint. We want to minimize or, if possible, just eliminate the risk for injury, because acute injuries or even subacute injuries, wear and tear that can build up over time, negatively affects our functional ability. So we have certain things that we want to do, and that dictates what is our requirements for exercise. Demanding muscular work in accordance with muscle function. We want to maintain relatively consistent balanced tension of the target muscles, but we want to do so in a way that minimizes the risk for injury. What is the cause of injury? It's when a tissue is exposed to a force that exceeds its structural strength. How do we minimize force if we are trying to place a demand on the muscle's ability to contract by minimizing acceleration, by moving, applying force gradually, moving slowly, reversing direction with minimal acceleration. You don't need to have a very high level of absolute force. You just need to have a high level of relative force, and not even until you get towards the end of an exercise. You don't have to lift very heavy weights. You don't have to heave and swing and jerk and bounce and throw and all that. And you don't have to move at all. You could literally just hold a heavy barbell. It has to be heavy enough that you can only hold it for maybe a minute and a half, and not even lift or lower it at all. And you're still going to accomplish what you want to. Or you could just move very, very slowly. Doesn't make much of a difference. As long as you're not going fast, there's a ton of myths related. I could literally take any one of these topics and go off on a bunch of tangents, but most of the rest of the industry gets the particulars of how to go about all this all wrong. You've got people recommending doing multiple sets, which is not necessary. If you do one set of an exercise correctly, that is enough. The problem is they don't do it correctly, which is probably why they think they need more. Most people's sets are these typical fast, sloppy, short affairs, and they're over in maybe 15, 20 seconds.
I will tell you this right now, as we're talking, as you're talking. Nick has one of those little bicycles under his desk, and he's furiously pedaling. You can't see it, but it's there.
Are you sure that's not just a dwarf giving him a blowjob?
Well, could be both, actually.
The dwarf is on the bike.
Well, the dwarf is in his lap. He's on the bike, so it provides a bounce. So there's a little bit. So she's not moving her head as much as you'd think to tire her out. So he's going to extend the life of the dwarf vacuum, if you will.
Anyways, if TJ is still listening, talk to me before you. The only reason to go to any of those organizations for certification is if you need it for insurance. But
Safety
they're full
Doc
of
said
shit.
something about that right there. He's applying for a state certification as a special high-intensity trainer. You're laughing now. You better get in touch with TJ.
Yeah, TJ, if you're listening, they're all bullshit. But from what I've heard, ACE, the American Council on Exercise, is one of the easiest to pass. So they're full of shit. They're a bunch of morons. Don't take anything that they say seriously. But just pass their test, and then you have to take some bullshit CEUs occasionally, and you can maintain the certification.
Yes, Nick.
So the only reason to get it, the only reason to get any of them, is for just insurance, or just if you really have money and time to waste and want to laugh. If you want to see some of the absolute dumbest fucking shit ever, take a NASM certification.
You almost sound like it would be better off, clipping out the little ad in the back of Amazing Spider-Man and sending it into Charles Atlas to get a catalog or something.
You would be better off, literally, I hate to say this, but it's true. You would be better off taking some of the bodybuilding books from the 1930s and 1940s and just following that than doing any of the silly bullshit, the BOSU and the bands and all this rope nonsense and kettlebells. There's so much dumb shit that some of these organizations are teaching now, especially all their functional training. They have no idea what the fuck functional ability is. And the stuff that they're doing is actually counter to a lot of it, especially if you understand motor learning principles. Most of what they do is a violation of these. It's dysfunctional training, if anything, but NASM are like the clown school of personal training, which is actually a shame because they used to not be. There's a guy named Tom Purvis who knows what he's talking about. Tom Purvis is one of the few educators out there who know their shit. And Tom used to be, I think he was like the head of the program for NASM. This is way back. This is like 90s or so. He was great. Still is. I think he still does like videos and things, right? But Tom Purvis is great. Now, I don't know what the hell happened. NASM has turned into this fucking clown show of exercise. It's like, I don't know if you remember the movie Kung Pao, Enter the Fist or something. I can't remember the whole title.
Yeah, I remember
they had the one guy at the one Kung Fu temple where they taught him wrong as a joke. That's NASM with personal trainers, except they don't realize that it's a joke. But if you wanted somebody to learn how to do this wrong as a joke, you send them to NASM.
Okay.
I would Oh God, I would almost be tempted to take it just to have the video going through it and do commentary on their materials, just to show how absolutely fucking ridiculous.
So basically, Mystery
They're all
Science
this.
Theater 3000.
Yes,
their videos.
I sit there. I've seen some of the stuff from their trainers, and I sit there looking at the screen saying, "No, you are a fucking moron. That is so fucking stupid. That is absolutely fucking backwards. What the fuck are you telling people?" It just drives me nuts because they are that. And actually probably about 99% of the trainers on YouTube. And it's unfortunate because most of them, I shouldn't say most of them, a lot of them, there's a lot of fucking just frauds out there. They have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And some of them just make shit up. A lot of them just rip off other people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about either. But I think a lot of them mean well. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they sincerely want to help people. So it's kind of sad because they're trying to do a good thing, but they just don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
But you can't tell them that, especially if they're putting themselves out there as an expert, because then they get mad. And even if you contact them privately, I try to rarely call these people out publicly. If there's an issue, I might message them and say, "Hey, listen, you said this and this and this. That's not quite the case. Consider these things." I try to be more diplomatic about it. I'm not addressing anybody in particular here except for these organizations. So I'm not saying this individual is full of shit, that individual is full of shit. So-and-so doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't do that often unless it's somebody that's a complete moron like Pavel Tsatsouline. Fucking dumbass. Don't listen to anything he says. A complete fucking moron. Does just absolute stupid exercise recommendations. But they still get mad. People don't like to be told that they don't know what the hell they're doing, especially if it's something that they consider themselves to be an expert in. So
that sounds like something Nick has a lot of experience with. Not necessarily with weight training, but just with some other things.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
What's that?
I said that sounds like something you have some familiarity with.
What?
Trying to point out when someone's got it wrong, no matter how diplomatically you do so, and they just can't take the critique.
Well, I mean, that was my career in tech, and I basically did with software teams and technology plans and operation plans what Drew does with everybody's fucked up thinking on working out, including my own. Because I've learned a lot from Drew over the last couple of years, and I've bought a couple of his books and stuff, and
likewise.
And it's difficult. My experience has always been that technical people tend to take criticism better than operations and business people do, because and by business I mean sort of like at the board and executive level, because technical people have to make shit work, and you don't have a lot of time for fucking around and pretending like something works when it doesn't, because you can't. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, you got to have a process that produces results. If the only thing that you care about is just getting the best results, you're going to be more open to people that are saying, "Hey, have you considered this?" or "This might be a better way of going about it," than maybe somebody who's kind of tied themselves to a particular way of doing things, and to the point where it's become part of their identity. What scares me about this is I know how fucked up the field of exercise is. And sadly, this is not just like the commercial side of the fitness industry. This is a lot of academics too. But I have no idea how fucked up all the other industries are. And I suspect if exercise is this bad, how bad are so many other things that most of us just don't know enough about to be able to make informed decisions about? How many really misinformed decisions are we making about a lot of other things, because most of the information we get on them is bullshit?
Well, I know my faith in the medical community has certainly been drastically reduced over the last couple of years.
Cowards, and just despicable fucking absolute pieces of shit. Mm-hmm. There are doctors who know that a lot of what's going on was bullshit. There was some doctor who apparently knew that the remdesivir was killing people, but he couldn't do. He could have quit, which would have been the right thing to do. He could have resigned. You do the fucking right thing regardless of the consequences. If it's the right thing, you just do the right thing, period. There's a lot of doctors that went along with this bullshit because they were afraid for their jobs. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Get a different fucking job instead of participating in what's probably going to end up going down as the biggest mass murder in the history of the world so far. Absolute fucking cowards. Mm-hmm. I fired my doctor. He posted some meme mocking, so I can't remember the specific thing, but it's something that showed an x-ray of somebody's lungs with pneumonia and just mocking people who chose not to get the fucking clot shot. And I called him out on it. I said, basically, we don't even know, and this was a while back, but we don't even know if this is safe. And this isn't even going to be something that's going to affect the vast majority of the population. We already had some numbers then, and even those numbers were probably grossly exaggerated and still showed that it was minor risk for the vast majority of people. This has been blown out of proportion to push this. And he got kind of lippy with me. Oh, well, I'll make sure to ask you next time, somebody's, in the ER with this. And I called him on that too. I said, okay, so listen, I don't have to have a fucking MD to be able to look at these numbers and also to be aware that sometimes this shit, thalidomide is an example of this. Sometimes this stuff is rushed without testing. I fired him and haven't heard, I don't know, care to hear from him since, but if he had any fucking integrity, and I don't think he's stupid, I just think he decided to choose, him and his wife have a practice. They're both doctors. I think they just decided that rather than do the right thing, they were going to go along. Mm-hmm. They could have probably cut it. They probably have investments if they're smart. They probably could have both just quit, closed their practice, sold it, whatever, and then just found anything else. Doesn't matter what. You just fucking walk away from the job and you figure something out. You don't fucking participate in this. It is absolutely fucking reprehensible. I didn't fire him just because I was pissed about him doing that. I have zero confidence now. Absolutely zero confidence in his judgment. Exactly. It's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's towing the party line to stay safe, keep their asses and their noses clean. And probably has investments in big pharma.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be difficult to have investment if you got somebody who's I'm not an expert on this shit, but from what I understand, a lot of times if you go through these places, I don't even know what the fuck our money is invested in. I know that the financial planner handles they've got it in a bunch of different things. It's like all over the fucking place. I would imagine most people do. But if it's a diverse enough portfolio, if I'm using the right terms, if they've got it spread, and I think they said there's like 11 different areas that they put all this in, energy and transportation and all sorts of other shit. If it's spread out enough, one thing doing poorly or better is probably not going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's well balanced. Yeah.
So, I don't know. And I'm not an expert on that. I couldn't tell you shit about stocks. But I know I'm not, so I'm not going to pretend to. Unlike probably about 90% of the people giving exercise advice on social media.
Right.
Actually, I shouldn't say that. They're not pretending to be experts. They actually believe they are. They just have no idea how little they actually know about the subject or how poorly they understand it.
Well, I like Nick's workout routine: smoke cigars, drink alcohol, and have sex with women.
That would be more sensible than most of the shit that NASM recommends.
Dude, I lift.
Lift his woman's hips is what he lifts.
Yeah.
Well,
In the pool, no less.
Well, what I have done for the last year and a half or so is I go spend about 3 or 4 weeks in Florida or at the beach or somewhere,
Where you just were, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm still recovering from that. I haven't really drank any alcohol since I've been back. And because I'll go down there and I'll be as debauched as I can possibly be. And then I'll come back and dry out and get back on. Like I've been, chopping wood in the yard. I've been hitting the weights a little. So,
Did you go to that CME thing?
No, I was
thinking of driving down there, but I needed a couple days just
CME.
Zone out. What was the thing that Rollo was going to?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Was that last weekend?
It's Donovan Sharp's conference deal thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that isn't that out like in the West somewhere, like Arizona or New Mexico or Vegas?
It was Miami this year. Last year.
Oh, Miami. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't really do that shit. I can't improve on myself. I can't be any more excellent than I already am. So I spend my time enjoying the recline.
Exactly.
It's probably going to recline a lot faster soon.
What's up, Exponential?
Well, I've spent, since I've been home, I've mainly been working on my yard and been doing the power grandpa shit. So
there you go. Drew, you have a fan on our Twitch stream.
Oh. Cool.
Yeah. Do you have a name we could use, Exponential, or you want us to use ED? Because that doesn't sound right. It sounds like erectile dysfunction doesn't sound quite right. Or exponential decay is cool.
Just call him the Blue V.
The Blue V. There you go.
Better than calling me ED.
That's right.
Or you could just say Ed. Ed for short.
Ed. Call him Ed. What's up, Ed? All right, you are now Ed.
You're now officially Ed.
You're Ed.
How did I come to be invited to this gathering tonight? I thought you guys had a scheduled something or other.
We did. I had Brandon of Twitter troll fame. We had him on about 2 years ago. He disappeared from Twitter for a little bit and came back. And a couple months ago, I was like, "Hey, you should come back on and talk some shit. We should just hang out." He's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good." And he's an attorney, so he had some shit to do. Scheduling was a little wonky, and we finally settled on tonight. But he had electrical issues around his area, and they were working on it, not going to get electricity restored to his house till probably tomorrow morning. He offered to do it by phone audio. I'm like, that's cumbersome, and nah, people want to hang out. So I said, we'll reschedule for May or June. But he was the one that used to be a former police officer turned attorney, and he's got a sharp wit. He's pretty funny.
Gives him a useful perspective if he's dealing with criminal.
Exactly, good perspective. Yeah, when we had him on, it was good to hang out and talk. I'll have to link to that show.
You know what would be cool to talk with him about? Because is he a defense attorney or?
He does all kinds of shit. I don't know if it's criminal or not. It might be.
Considering in the background of the police officer, it would make. I'm not sure, but I would guess defense. I think it would be interesting to ask him because he would know from both sides of this what kind of tricks and tactics police officers employ to try to manipulate people into giving up rights or providing statements or going against their own interests in an arrest, and how, or maybe not even arrest, but just in an encounter, and what to do and what not to do in those situations to avoid having your rights violated or being.
Well, basically, just shut up.
Well, yeah,
because I'll tell you right now, the judicial system, as far as anything related to it, it's business, and a police officer is looking to place blame on someone. That's what they need to do. They have to place blame on someone. If you're going to run your mouth, you're prime suspect number one. Just shut up. Because most people think, okay, well, if you have nothing to hide, you should just come clean and be honest. No, because they'll use whatever you say and twist it so you fit what they think the perpetrator of whatever happened is. So shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. You get your lawyer, and you proceed from there.
And depending on the situation, if you're under a lot of stress, you might not even be thinking clearly. Probably want to. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think even police officers, there's some rule where if they are involved in some kind of a shooting incident,
oh no, bull rushes the fuzz.
There is a certain number of days that have to pass before they are allowed to be interviewed about it, so that they are able to do so when they're not in an excited, agitated state.
Correct.
I mean, the Fourth and Fifth Amendments are there for a fucking reason, and people died for that shit. So use it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not only just not about not incriminating yourself, which I agree. That's probably the most immediately important consideration. The rest of it is you need to stand up for your own fucking liberty, and it's not a matter of you disrespecting the cops. You don't have to do that either. You can just say,
"Look, I'm waiting for my lawyer. Let's talk to my lawyer.
That's it.
I'll gladly answer questions with my lawyer present."
And there is no good reason not to do that, no matter how innocent you are or how innocent you think you are.
Exactly.
Absolutely. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So fucking use it.
A lot of people probably fucked over because they ran their mouths and they shouldn't have, and probably should have lawyered up instead.
Well, and that's also a reason why you don't, if you're going to drink and do all that kind of shit, which I'm certainly not opposed to, you don't do that shit in public. You know, you whenever you're in public, you have to be in control, because
you have to comport yourself with professional dignity.
Even aside from whether you have your own code and all that shit, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, not being a victim and not being a criminal by circumstance.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, shut your trap, foo, and don't be there, foo, like Bacon says, or the two top martial arts everybody needs to start with. Because you're going to use that shit more than anything else anyway.
Yeah, some people just can't seem to help from putting themselves into stupid situations and doing stupid things.
Yep.
Well, hell, there are social media platforms that are built on that. That's the whole reason for their existence.
Isn't that TikTok's entire business model? Stupid people doing stupid things.
Yeah.
Stupid human tricks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
China knew what it was doing when it created that program.
Are there any? Because I know YouTube is millions of bullshit videos, but there are also people that are producing good educational content on YouTube. A small minority, but it's there. Is there anybody because the few times that I've seen TikTok, it's like somebody will say, "Hey, you got to see this video," and it's somebody doing some utterly stupid fucking exercise. For some reason, everybody wants to show me all the dumb shit that they see other people doing. I've seen most of this dumb shit. I don't want to see any of it anymore. I see it.
Yeah. TikTok speaks to the ADHD, HD crowd, which is about 98% of the population of this miserable fucking planet. Everyone wants. If you look at metrics on, I think Raul was talking about this, and even Aaron, and I've looked at our statistics, which are actually pretty high. If you look at the metrics, the watch and view metrics of YouTube videos, the average is about 10 to 15 minutes. We were coming in at around 8. We were coming in between 18 and 22 minutes.
It's just good.
Which I'm like, yeah, that's for a small channel. It's not bad.
I've noticed that if I don't keep videos short, even if, and I tend to repeat myself, and sometimes I repeat myself because I'm doing live things and new people will come in. Sometimes because you have to repeat certain points in different ways to get everybody to get it. But if I do a 30-minute video, I notice the same thing. It's like the viewership does like this is like, well,
exactly.
I have to explain A, B, and C to get to D, you fucking dumbasses. If you want to understand the point, you have to go through these things to get there.
Break down, do that, but edit your video and have like A, B, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the only thing I can tell you.
So instead of doing 130-minute video, do 6 5-minute videos.
Correct, yeah, because people can digest those quickly. They can do them on their phone when they're at work, or during a workout. I know it seems like this is fucking stupid. It's gay. It's lame. But it's the only thing that really works. People have short attention spans. It's gotten worse over the years. I mean, for good or for ill. I mean, it's a snake eating its own tail. Social media is to blame. Even though social media is the medium by which you're viewing this stuff.
They need more time reading books, less time watching TikTok.
Well, that's true. The only problem with it's that illusion of learning. You know, it hits those special pleasure centers where it's like, all right, well, you've got a sound bite of information coming at you, and you feel good. You're like, it's almost like an accomplishment. You know, I did something, even though you haven't. It's like people that buy courses or video things, and they buy it, but they don't take it. They just spend the money on it. It's like spending the money is like, oh, I'm done. I should know this because I paid the money. It doesn't work that way.
They did a movie like that. I don't remember what it was. I think John Travolta was in it. I can't remember. It was like hit by lightning, and he could absorb knowledge from books just like touching or something.
Oh, Phenomenon. The movie Phenomenon, yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but that was just fucking. And I thought, man, that would be great. Just walk through a university library and fish.
All right.
But what the fuck are they learning watching TikTok videos?
Well, they're really not. I mean,
that there are some people even dumber than they are.
There are some insane people. It's absolutely fucking nuts.
There's a lot of stupid people walking around these days.
And even Instagram. And I have an Instagram account. I almost never use it because Instagram, from what I've seen, it's just every once in a while I might go on there, and sometimes there's some cool stuff. And I follow some bands that I like on there, and some of the people, in the, tactical training and gun community and whatnot. But most of it just seems vapid and shallow. It's just pointless. There's really just a lot of superficial nonsense you don't really get. And I was hoping Twitter would be better. I thought, okay, Twitter is mostly writing. It's not just pictures. It's kind of like the difference between picking up a kindergarten book and an actual novel. But no, Twitter is just 99% utter dumb fuckery. It just baffles me that many people are that stupid. I would expect about maybe half to 2/3 of the population to be that stupid, but not the percentage that it seems like. But then again, that's Twitter. So maybe it just tends to attract more of them. Or maybe Twitter is deliberately amplifying the dumbest of them.
Yeah. Bull Rush. I saw Powder in the fucking movie theater. That was a piece of shit fucking movie. Holy shit. I almost walked out of it. I was like the mid to late 90s. Probably like 96, 97.
Yeah, it's even more interesting when you find out that the director of that has a thing for little boys.
What Hollywood director does not?
What movie? Powder?
Yeah.
Powder, yeah.
I have no idea. It doesn't even ring a bell.
Go look it up.
Is it about cocaine?
No. It was about this kid that was sheltered and born as an albino, completely white, clear eyes, no hair, but he sort of tapped into the electrical current of the earth, and he could feel and do certain things, very similar to Phenomenon.
So he was like a human Tesla transformer.
Yeah.
Not even yes and no. He was like a more gay Tesla coil, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bad movie.
So.
The only movie I've gotten up and walked out of in a theater, I think it was Day of the Dead, or Land of the Dead. It might have been Land of the Dead. It was the last of the Dead one because it was just so stupid.
That wasn't a Romero one, was it?
I think it might have been.
Really? That's unusual for someone to want to walk out of a Romero one.
I think
it was the one with John Leguizamo.
Yeah, that was Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead. Okay.
Yeah,
it just seems so stupid right off the start.
Well,
I can just see these guys. I can just see the chat furiously looking up Powder to try to figure out what it is.
Zombie movies have to be driven by a story, because I mean, otherwise you're just, watching people hit, zombie heads with shovels.
Although just watching people hit zombie heads with shovels might have been better than what they had. The story just seems stupid.
It's got to be.
You have to watch Shaun of the Dead with what's his face.
That was a good movie.
That's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, the redheaded guy and his chubby friend.
Both of those guys, Simon Pegg and him, were both in Land of the Dead. They were both zombies at the gladiatorial carnival kind of thing.
No shit. No wonder they like. No wonder I
didn't even get that far. So I don't know.
They had a cameo in Land of the Dead.
I mean everything now. I mean, if you ever saw just the black and white Night of the Living Dead, which was
that I saw, I liked that.
Fantastic movie. The first real big zombie movie that came out, and you got to judge them all by that. And as it's like everything else, as time goes on, they get more Hollywood, and instead of like having to embrace those limitations and figure out a way to make it compelling and creepy and an interesting story, everybody these days, they just sell out for either something that's kind of got a woke subtext, or it's heavy on CG and all that kind of stuff. And I like seeing zombie heads get crushed and gore as much as anything, but not just like by itself. That's just not very interesting to me.
It's got to be some story to it, or you might as well just watch what is that? Faces of Death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my God.
Wasn't that all fake though?
Yeah, that wasn't real.
Yeah.
You can't show that for money on a commercial. It's not gonna.
Well, I mean, I guess some of
it's like consensual non-consent. That's basically what that is.
I guess some of like the animal deaths and stuff in it were real, but as far as the other stuff that that it was supposed to be like this highly illegal snuff film that you could rent at your mom and pop.
Well, they had it at theaters.
Yeah, I know, but
I took my youngest brother to see it at a theater. I think he was 15 or 16 at the time. And I remember because I had an older driver's license and I gave it to him for this movie. And he was like right after me in line. And so they checked mine and they checked his ID. They're looking at us like, what the hell? But they just like, whatever, we went on through. But I don't even remember it.
Yeah, I remember watching it. A buddy of mine rented it, and I think that night we watched it and Flesh Gordon, not Flash Gordon, Flesh Gordon.
Of course you did.
And then a couple of other things, maybe the movie Zombie, and who only knows what else. We watched so many bad, especially Italian zombie movies in the 1980s that we rented. So
it was a good time to be alive.
It was.
Right.
Watch zombie movies, play D&D.
Yeah. Although, did you have I forget his name, but it was categorized as Creature Double Feature. It came on Saturday afternoons. It was 2 back-to-back, like Hammer horror films or like Godzilla or something like that.
Our local horror host was a cat named Sammy Terry. Sadly, Bob Carter, the guy who played Sammy Terry, his is dead and has been dead for a while, but his son actually took over the part and still does stuff online. But you can find vintage, original Sammy Terry like openings and closings for his horror shtick. He was a lot creepier than like Sven Gulli, who's still on now.
I remember Sven Gulli, yeah,
who's out of Chicago.
Yep.
There's actually 2 Sven Gullis. The current one was originally the son of Sven Gulli, but he eventually the original Sven Gulli's like, you've been doing the character longer than I have. Just be Sven Gulli. And then but yeah, there are horror hosts all over the country, and there are a couple of really cool documentaries on that. And back in the 1980s, the magazine Fangoria had several issues where they talked and did interviews and had a nice pictorial and stuff for various horror hosts from around the country. So they did some of the biggies, and obviously they talked about Vampira and Elvira, who at the time back in the 80s had a feud because the actress that had played Vampira said that she had basically had her shtick stolen by Elvira.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely true. Other than Elvira was more campy and a little bit more titillating.
Yeah, literally
titillating little.
Yeah,
literally.
But
titties.
We also had a guy for a while called Baron von Wolfstein, who I think
I remember him.
He's from Ohio, and I think that's where he eventually ended up going back to. And then there was like Ghoulardi over in Ohio.
Never heard that one.
I used to know several. I really dig the whole horror host thing, and there's actually a comic, Count Crawley, Reluctant Monster Hunter, which is based on a horror host. There's actually a new comic series that's out now. I think the first issue's out, and the original 4-issue miniseries came out a few years ago, and it's actually written by one of the actors that was in the movie Ant-Man, played the Russian techie guy that was a part of Ant-Man's crew. And so
I live my life according to that movie, McDibus. Some people talk about it. I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
let's see.
Good movie.
What's her name? Gyllenhaal's sister.
Yeah.
James Spader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, James Spader.
I think I've seen that. He is a great character actor. He is good at those weird roles. He's good. Him, Willem Dafoe, Gary Oldman all seem really, really good at kind of getting into those kind of characters.
All right, let's see.
I just like him because he looks like Chesty.
Right.
Yeah.
I always make any girls I date for an extended period of time, they all have to watch Secretary. It's kind of a primer.
Mm-hmm. There you
go. So you get Spur Girl to watch it with you out in Florida?
I've known her. I've been dating her for 3 years, so that was.
She's already been trained.
She watched that years ago.
Yeah.
That's not the one I want. The fuck? It's the one from channel 57. There's one in Boston. That's from 84. Where is... Maybe 56 is the one.
Yeah, Geeky Anomaly says the real Mr. Gray. Absolutely. I mean, I haven't watched any of that, 50 Shades or whatever, but it can't be good if it's popular amongst women.
No, it's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
What I have discovered is there are a lot of women who have watched Secretary. They just won't talk about it because
Philadelphia.
they didn't want to talk about
Hey
it.
Vince, I sent you a link to the sanitary opening, at least the one from the 1980s. If you want to pop
The
that
what
up
opening?
while you,
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Well, we're just
while
sending
you're
that at.
looking,
We're just sending that
private chat. It's just the YouTube link. But yeah,
Was that key? Ad block? Why did that show up in the ad block? The ads on the side? That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, kids that grew up in Indianapolis back in like the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, it wasn't the boogeyman that would get you. It was Sammy Terry that parents used to threaten you with.
Let's see.
Not Aaron Cleary?
No. No, it wasn't Cappy. Cappy and his van that said free candy on the side.
That's funny. Let's share this out. Share screen. No, I can't find the one from Philly, so this will do. Let's see. Chrome tab. Sammy Terry, 1980. There we go. I think I have the audio on. Let me know if you can't hear this.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
I can hear it.
All right, cool.
I am Zara girl's best friend, and the nurse's worst enemy. If the owner wants the ring back, oh, by the way, anyone for a late night bath? A drop of water could do you in. Personally, I prefer ghosts who strangle girls. Oh, girls
That's
always
funny.
talk so much, and when their windpipes
Nice.
are broken, the
See.
vocal cords squash.
There's your red pill content.
They aren't nearly as noisy. Oh, George, did you find me another car, George? You can't find me another car? That's terrible, George. I know. Maybe Dave Chastain in Newcastle could help us. I'll find out.
Yeah, I thought this would be the opening, but it wasn't. The opening would open with this really cool horror.
Oh, Dave, I've got a big problem.
It's a car
The
sponsor.
problem is I need a car.
Oh, okay.
Can you help me?
That's
is
funny.
Terrible.
No, I've got problems of my own. I don't think I can help you in any way with your car.
You have problems? What problems do you have?
Well, we're trying to raise some money down in Newcastle for a Special Olympics fund for Henry County Special Olympics.
And you're auctioning off ugly witches.
No, this is Kay Sides. She's helping me also with the Special Olympics fundraising.
You're going to
No, she's not in
funds for the
any
special.
like
I thought the
outfit
Olympics
or
had been
anything.
canceled.
No, these aren't the Moscow Olympics. These are for our own Olympians. They're Special Olympic kids that are involved in
Jesus.
special education.
Wow.
Well, how are you going to raise the money? Well, I know you want to bring the money out of the earth, and you figured I was an expert at it.
Well, that was one of the first things we considered. What we thought we would do was have you down to host the ghost for us, and we would show that classic Bela Lugosi movie with Dracula.
That would be fantastic. Oh, Drac and I are good friends. And when would this be?
Maybe Kate could tell you a little bit more about that.
I think George came down and was looking for your car, but I don't know if he found it. But we're going to have for you to be at Bundy Auditorium, May 29th at 7:30. All tickets will be sold in schools and any Newcastle businesses. There'll be $2.50.
I actually did find the opening
Oh,
to
that's
this.
May 29th.
I mean,
Right.
That's
this
today
is
after
back when TV
school's out.
stations used
What
to
a
have actual local
celebration.
programming
It
that
sure
was
is.
absolutely
We're all looking
local.
forward to you.
And Bundy
That's
Auditorium,
funny.
for those who don't know
I can't
Newcastle,
find the
that is at Chrysler
one
High
from Philadelphia.
School.
We like to strangle
Yes, it's on
women, but
601
first,
Parkview
Yeah,
Drive.
here's how to
right.
raise some
So
money
it's not
for
hard to find at all.
XYZ
We're
at the car
really looking
dealership.
forward to having
Yeah.
you and George with us.
We'll do our best to be there.
Here we go.
Thursday night,
All right.
May
I
29th.
found it. I forgot his name. It's Dr. Dr. Shock. Yours was
Dr.
almost
Shock.
done anyway.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so here we go. Where's it? God damn it. Let's get rid of that one. StreamYard. Share screen. Audio. Always remember to click that audio. Share.
And if you're watching, click that like button.
Good evening. And welcome to Screaming and another creature feature. Yes, he's come back. After a week's sleep to torment us once more. Once again, it gives me no pleasure whatever to present the frightful Dr. Shock.
Look at the kid in the front in the
I know.
fucking.
Baby set?
What the hell? That's the weirdest fucking thing. That kid's gonna have fucking nightmares. Look.
Air at last. Fresh air. Oh. Hiya, Bubbles. How you doing, kid? There's the star screaming right here. Right, fellas? Here, a little down. Duck on the bottle, kid. Hi, all you mortals out there. I'm the diabolical Dr. Shock.
That was so weird.
Right?
I love it. This stuff was great.
That was the stuff from the 60s and 70s. Yep.
We're going to abuse some women. But first, the Boy Scouts are going to be selling popcorn at the corner of Main Street and First Street.
Right. Oh,
Good
shit.
stuff.
That is funny. I don't think they have. Do they even do that shit anymore?
There's Svengoolie on MeTV, and there are a few internet horror hosts, and I think there are a couple other people that have local shows, different places, or on public access. But it's nothing like what it used to be.
That's too bad because it does seem to. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but it does seem to add something to it.
Oh yeah, well, especially with like the really bad movies, you at least had these entertaining segments in between.
Right,
and like I said, the horror hosts really ran the gambit. Some were really silly and schlocky.
Yeah.
Some were genuinely frightening. I mean, Sammy Terry to a little kid was actually kind of scary. And others
This
weren't.
one here.
In the dead of night, when the moon is high, and the ill winds blow, and the banshees cry, and the moonlight casts an unearthly glow, arise, my love, with tales of woe.
Friday nights. Jesus Christ.
Good evening. Welcome to two
It's
maddening
fucking rubber
hours
gloves.
of horror and fright. I am Sammy Terry.
Yellow dish gloves.
I was just doing the dishes before. I have to do the dishes before
Yeah.
every
Right.
segment.
Well, if you get a close look up on the tops of the hands, there are like little veins painted in.
Every night is forbidding and
Cool.
black. Long, dark shadows set apart from the rest of the inky night by silvery pools of light from the cold, frosty-looking moon. And on certain evenings such as this, your mind can stray from the path of reality and lead you into a maze of suspicion and fear. For behind every bush and tree, hiding in the haven-hued shadows, a fiendish maniac is waiting just for you. He'll pounce on you out of nowhere and with insane fury ravage you, while a twinkling star in the heavens appears to be coming
It's like he's met
closer
Rob
and
Says.
closer.
Right.
It isn't a star, it isn't an airplane, no, it's not a comet or a meteor. It might be a UFO from outer space bent on destroying you. You run madly home, pursued by these treacherous demons of the imagination. And when you're safe inside, you're afraid to take a drink because a deadly virus may be in the water.
Uh-oh.
Holy shit, Rona.
So hide back in the farthest corner of the couch and turn on the TV. And after an evening's imaginative stroll with terror, it'll be nice to see something soothing to your nerves. Something like my tale of terror tonight.
Yeah, the house all dark.
Do you
only
own
lights,
your
TV
home in
light,
Delaware but still rent your electricity?
and
Rent your
If you pay
electricity?
more than
well, it's just Friday night, so we got the lights off. Sammy Terry's on. It's late at night, 10, 11
That's
o'clock, whatever.
I love the name.
And
Right.
that creepy music starts. My kid brothers would come flying to wherever they were to the one area where there was any light at all,
Right.
because they were just petrified. One of my kid brothers, our basement looked like the set of Sammy Terry. So we were down there, we'd taken something downstairs, and of course I came flying up the stairs and shut the light off in the basement and shut the door and started making noises.
Oh, you dirty bastard. I like
my
it.
brother was so freaked out. I mean, he's like 8 years old or something. He broke out the bottom panel of a solid oak door because he was so terrified. And for a while, in the late 70s, they'd taken Sammy Terry off. He was replaced by this guy, like I said, Baron von Wolfstein. And then they brought him back in like 1980. And his first movie when they brought him back was The Thing from Another World, the Howard Hawks classic. So I'm 12 years old at the time, over at a buddy's house. We'd been playing D&D and Star Wars figures and stuff like that. And we were all jazzed up about this. We had everything set up. And then Sammy Terry was coming on, and being a couple smart-ass 12-year-olds, we're like, oh, it's Sammy Terry. We're so scared. And we jump behind the couch like, oh, we're so scared. Yeah. And we're just laughing. And Sammy Terry, one of the first things he says after he does his laugh coming out of the intro is, I see you hiding behind the couch and the chair.
Yeah.
And we like both stopped laughing and like peered up over the furniture looking at TV, and it's like, holy crap, he still has it. We just, meekly got up, sat back down, and watched the movie. And
yeah, when you're a kid and that's like, there's no social media, this is your first like introduction to anything like external like that. Like,
yeah, I mean,
there was never any context for anything. It was just
No.
like, hey, turn on channel 10 or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
so it was great, but I mean, there is a certain magic to, you'd watch Sammy Terry on Friday night. After Sammy Terry was local professional wrestling. So, guys like Dick the Bruiser would be someone from my area. So you had classic professional wrestling that was local to you, to your market. Then that was it. Then, the national anthem, flag waving on a video, and then the TV signed off. So you listen to AM or FM radio if you were staying up all night, or you listen to records. But I mean, if you were actually having contact with anything from the outside world, you were listening to radio, which was cool because you'd call the DJs that worked late at night, and they might actually really play your request.
You had a chance of actually connecting,
yeah, and or would spend a few minutes talking to you if they weren't too busy, or smoking pot or getting a blowjob from some. It's the stories I could tell, but anyway. So, I mean, yeah, it was like a really cool kind of thing. The world kind of shut down for a while. And if you were like one of those kids, it's like that Kiss song, Kings of the Nighttime World. It's like you felt like that because the world was shut down. The adults were all asleep. And it's like there was this whole other world at night. And it was just, it was just kind of magical. Living in the 24-hour world that we live in now, movie on demand kind of thing. It's different, some of that magic is gone.
Back then you had to take whatever there was because there wasn't any other choice. It was
true. Did you guys have Tales from the Dark Side?
This is on.
Yeah.
I loved that when I was a kid.
Making that narrator from Thriller is Vincent Price.
Yeah, Vincent Price.
Yep.
He was major league horror,
Oh yeah.
From back in his day.
If you were watching Sammy Terry, it was golden. If Sammy Terry was showing a classic Universal or Hammer movie, it was a great night. Or anything with Vincent Price, especially any of the Roger Corman Poe movies.
Vincent Price and Peter Cushing.
Yeah. But that thing that Vincent Price did for Michael Jackson in Thriller, he did like over a decade earlier for Alice Cooper on his album Welcome to My Nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he had that one scene where Alice Cooper was like this sort of like the Igor type character when he was doing that that little MTV
for that concert video that was released with the album.
Yep.
But which is a great album, by the way. Produced by Bob Ezrin.
Oh yeah, Chiller Theater.
Have y'all ever seen that old Saturday Night Live skit where Bill Hader plays Vincent Price on Halloween and the dude from Mad Men plays James Mason, and there's a couple chicks on there too. If you've never seen that skit where a Hader's playing Vincent Price, the first time they did it on a Halloween skit, it was pretty damn good. It was pretty damn funny.
I don't know if I saw that.
I know I haven't because I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since.
They haven't been relevant in a very long time.
Eddie Murphy was still on it.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it on the show. I saw it because somebody sent me the YouTube clip.
I'll have to look for it later.
All right.
But yeah, all this was good. So you had Sammy Terry on Friday nights. Saturday nights you had Sci-Fi Theater, which didn't have a host, but it showed sci-fi movies from the 50s and stuff. The Angry Red Planet and stuff like that. Maybe later that night you'd catch an old episode of Star Trek on another channel after that. Again, maybe local professional wrestling, and then TV would sign off until the Farm Report the next morning at like 6:00 or something. And then like Sunday afternoons, sometimes on Saturday nights, it depends on what year you're talking about, but you'd have Kung Fu Theater. So you'd get to see classic Shaw Brothers, Five Deadly Venoms movies and stuff like that, which were just absolutely awesome. So yeah, for a primitive time, we actually had it pretty good.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was a simpler time.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I remember Twilight Zone. Rod Serling.
That was a little before my time, but I saw reruns of it.
Hey, likewise, yeah. That was before my time too. I'm not that old. Jesus.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of
SAS, and that's what I was looking for. It's called Creature Double Feature. It was here out of Philadelphia. It was like 48 or 57.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of unsettling.
I'm just loving all this old horror stuff and everything, especially Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, and Thinking about those
Boris
old
Karloff,
Tales from the Dark Side.
There's another one. I forget the name of it. Shit.
What's the one with the Crypt Keeper?
Tales from the Crypt.
That's Tales from the Crypt and Creep Show.
Now that Creep Show movie was a good movie. That's
Demon Knight.
I didn't see most of this shit, but that was good.
Was that Demon Knight?
There was a Tales from the Crypt movie, Demon Knight, I do believe. That was in the 90s.
Oh shit! What's his name? I vaguely remember the movie. I know a bunch of people were trapped in a house, and oh crap! The guy,
Sassy Creature double feature. Just so you know. Good.
Billy something was the bad guy in that, and he was really good in that. I can't remember he's been in a bunch of stuff. I can't remember his name though. It's gonna drive me nuts. Hold on, I gotta IMDb this shit now.
There's a series of clips shows on YouTube. If you search the Golden Age of Horror Host, so it has Dr. Paul Bearer from like the Tampa area, Dr. Stan Gennari, Count Gordeval, and a bunch of others. So there are like several different volumes of those that have like brief clips. And then Bob Wilkins is one who was not ever dressed up as a monster. He was more like Hugh Hefner kind of thing, but with the big thick glasses and, dressed in a suit and tie, who talked about horror movies. And he was like in the San Francisco area. And so, yeah, there's a whole, you can just get lost looking up old Horror Host stuff. So,
yeah, right.
Especially if you have any interest in it. And there are a couple of books that have been written about them. It all ties into the fact that the movie studios had these horror movie packages that they were selling, and certain places around the country, when they bought these packages, instead of just showing the movies, they decided they'd have some kind of intro for it. And that's how the Horror Host thing was born. And that's like something that comes out of the 50s and 60s, and fortunately lasted into the 80s. And like I said, it's still kind of around in certain places, on either in syndicated markets, like I said, with people who have MeTV and Svengoolie, who's out of Chicago, or Joe Bob's Briggs is kind of a horror host of sorts, that and Rhonda Shear, that USA After Dark or whatever that was called.
Yeah.
So I mean, those all kind of tie into that, at least to a certain degree.
Billy Zane was the actor in Demon Knight.
Billy Zane, yeah.
The fuck is that?
I'm really a fan of yours.
That's very kind of you indeed, Vincent. Thank you.
I saw one of your pictures last night.
Did you really?
Yes.
What a coincidence. I saw you the night before.
Really? Tell me, was that your last picture?
I hope not. The two of us. No boogeyman is greater than the two of us.
The people scream about the team of Karloff and Price.
Although we're as nice as can be, my buddy and me, there's just the two of us,
and we'll be always traveling on.
Did we scare off Nick?
Probably. That's Vincent Price and Boris Karloff.
I have not. Oh, crap. I'm trying to remember the last Vincent Price movie I saw. It was the one where, and this is probably not going to narrow it down. There was some mansion that he was in, and I think I can't remember if the husband, he was murdered or somebody else was murdered, and a bunch of people were invited to it.
Oh, House on Haunted Hill.
That's it.
Yeah, House on Haunted Hill. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, they're given money to stay in for 24 hours or something like that. Yeah.
I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah, all those just IMDb, Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi.
Was he in Fall of the House of Usher?
He was.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, you want to look up.
That was creepy.
Watch The Haunted Palace, which is based very loosely on H.P. Lovecraft's novella, The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, and he's in that as well.
What's the title of that again?
The Haunted Palace. I think that's from 1958. Yeah, with the skeleton on fishing. Yeah, you're right, Geeky. The skeleton on fishing wire. Yep.
Yeah.
That was in the pit of acid or whatever in the basement, or in that one room.
Haunted Palace.
And then everyone was given guns. It's pretty funny.
But he's also in like the pit and the pendulum. And,
Pit and the pendulum. Yep.
And the Raven. The Raven has him and Boris Karloff as wizards, and they actually have a wizard fight.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, especially considering the special effects of the time.
Nice. They had the
Haunted very
Palace
young
and
Jack Nicholson in it.
Yeah, and then watch Die Monster Die, which is also very loosely based on The Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft. So
that
Die
would
Monster.
be a tricky one to.
Yeah, and Boris Karloff plays the patriarch in that. So
Didn't they
Die
try
Monster.
to do that with Nick Cage or something?
They did. That was
it
actually
any
not.
good?
That wasn't bad. That was pretty good. There's a German.
Because I've
version.
read it, of course, but I.
Oh yeah, but there's a German version of Colorado Space that came out in the mid 2010, 2015. That's really very good. That's a decent watch. The original Amityville Horror, yeah, I saw that as a kid with my oh shit. That in Salem's Lot. That is probably one of the most frightening, traumatizing horror movies for me as a kid was Amityville Horror and Salem's Lot,
which was on regular television. It was like a Friday night movie of the week,
right?
Kind of
yeah,
special thing that they.
I
did
don't think
in a
I've
row.
seen Salem's Lot ever.
Oh, the original Salem's Lot is so good.
I know I read the Stephen King story, but I have not seen it.
Yeah, watch Salem's Lot. You'll like it. It's you'll still get chills. It's not the same effect as when you're a kid, and obviously the effects can be a bit cheesy, but
yeah,
especially with
scene
his
with
friend
out the window.
Out the window, he's like tapping on the
on
the window to let him in.
Great stuff.
Oh yeah, it's fucking awesome.
I remember seeing the first movie that was a horror movie that I had clear memory of seeing was An American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah. Bull Rush, you read?
Or was it a book on tape?
You're Aaron Clare at the book on tape. Yeah, the American Werewolf in London was pretty frightening, edge of your seat kind of shit.
How did that come out? 1981.
Yeah,
Oh,
I saw
shit.
that at Tibbs Drive-In Screen 1. Jenny Allgutter from Logan's Run was in that.
Oh, Logan's Run, yeah.
She was such a dish.
She's pretty stacked, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we used to. Most of my relatives lived in Green Bay. So we would go up there with our parents to my dad's oldest brother's house. We were kids, and all the adults would be in the kitchen, sitting around talking with the kids and the cousins in the living room, just watching whatever on TV. And I remember that coming on and watching it and just thinking this is awesome, but at the same time being freaked out by it. But holy crap, 81. So I would have been like 8.
I was 11.
7 or 8 at the time, depending on.
I was 11 then.
When it came out.
Yeah, I would have been 13.
I'll have to watch it again.
All the good stuff.
I can't think of any horror movies in recent years. Nothing that really stands out as being great. There must be some. I just haven't seen them.
There was that one. Oh fuck! It was recent. It was a ghost like a haunting paranormal thing based off of a couple that did paranormal
Was it
investigations.
The
Oh, The
Conjuring?
Conjuring.
The Conjuring. That was pretty good. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that. That was good. And did they do a second one? Is there a
They've done
second one?
several movies that are connected to that because the
Okay, 'cause it makes
Abigail the
sense, 'cause
doll thing is all. I think that's
Yeah,
connected to it as well.
they took
That
that
was
and
so
put that in
creepy.
their archive.
Yeah, because those people are the people that supposedly did the research for the Amityville horror. So it's actually even connected to all that, at least what it's supposed to be based on. But
Rob Zombie's movies were creepy, but not really scary so much as just creepy.
Yeah.
Trying to think of a word. Just unsettling.
yeah, he tries to go for the Toby Hooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of that 70s grindhouse sort of vibe.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's kind of his milieu, if you will. I remember
What was the one at the hotel when they were already on the run and they had the family trapped in the hotel room? Oh, geez. It wasn't The House of a Thousand Corpses. I think it was a sequel to that.
Yeah.
Title. I can't remember the title of this. Oh, I can picture scenes from the movie. But didn't they end it with them running from the police in the car with Freebird playing?
Probably.
Nice.
That sounds like something we do. But yeah, I used to collect horror magazines, Famous Monsters obviously in the 70s, and then Fangoria in the 80s, and then the Gorehound or Gore Zone came out, which I think was like a sister publication of Fangoria. And then recently the one I'd been reading was Rue Morgue, which actually had some really good reviews and info and stuff on movies. But lately, the last pretty much since right around the time the president before this most recent one was elected, even though it's a Canadian published magazine, had such a political bent that was anti anything Republican or libertarian or whatever, that it took a lot of the joy out of even reading the magazine, because even the reviews, every horror movie's review was somehow or another anti-Trump. So, and it's like
TDS.
Yeah. And it's like, I lost a lot of enjoyment, and then the magazine was struggling anyway, like a lot of magazines are, just because the readership's down and no one wants to buy physical media. They'd much rather rent it from rent a digital copy that can be taken from them at any time and censored at any time. The
Edited.
intelligentsia decides that that's fact checked wrong. So but anyway, yeah, I don't know.
You know what? I remembered something, and I think I might have seen The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yeah.
The Michael York one? Or the remake with Val Kilmer?
No, old one.
The old one's good.
Oh, with Bela Lugosi as the speaker of the law.
Yep.
What is law?
Instead
Not to
of
walk on all fours.
Before American Werewolf in London, I think I saw that. So that
remake wasn't too bad. That was with what's his face?
Baruka, whatever her name is.
Yeah, that's
chick.
that's the third version of that has been made. The first one was Isle of Lost Souls, and then the Island of Dr. Moreau in about 1976 or so with Michael York.
I think that's the one that I saw.
And then they remade it in the 90s or I think
it was
in
the
90s,
late 90s
with Val Kilmer and stuff. And that one had a lot, and Marlon Brando. And that one had a lot of problems
Dr. Moreau,
with it.
yeah.
But Burt Lancaster was in the Michael York one. And I really enjoyed that, although the ending was changed in the theatrical movie version from how from the original ending and which was the ending they used in the comic adaptation. But I saw that at the Greenwood Drive-In south of Indianapolis when it came out. So
cool.
Also saw The Boy That Cried Werewolf there.
Oh,
yeah. It was about divorced parents, and the father is trying to keep from being alienated from his son. He and his son go on a camping trip. They get attacked by a werewolf. The dad fights the werewolf off, obviously, and kills it, but in turn gets turned into a werewolf. No one believes the son. They think he's rebelling because his parents are divorced and everything else, and no one listens to him. And it was a typical B movie of the 70s, but I always remember it and thought it was interesting. Although the werewolf makeup made the werewolf look like he was a were-collie more than a werewolf. But there's a group of hippies that got attacked in it and everything else, and then it had kind of a sad ending, as werewolf movies are wont to do. But anyway, that was cool. It was a double feature, if I remember right, with Hiss, which is just a capital S with Strother Martin and Dirk Benedict, about a mad scientist experimenting with cobras, and he's turned his assistant into a snake man who's now in the Carnival Freak Show, and then he's maybe doing it to his new assistant, who's played by Dirk Benedict, Starbuck from the original Battlestar Galactica, who is in love with the mad scientist's daughter. So anyway,
speaking of like reptile stuff, there was another movie, and I just vaguely remember seeing parts of this, but I wanted to see the whole thing because what I remember is super creepy. Long time and all I remember was some people on a boat and a giant turtle. This would have been probably early 80s. I should probably just Google this. There's a giant turtle that was threatening their boat.
What's Beneath or something? I think Joseph Bottoms or one of those guys was in it, and then Carl Weathers or someone like that. I remember
Carl Weathers.
I remember that movie because it was like a TV movie of the week. And
I'll look. You know what? I will look up Carl Weathers on IMDb and see that.
I think those are the guys who were in it. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen it. But
a toidle.
Let's see if we go. Holy crap! He's been doing stuff forever.
Yeah.
Who, Benedict?
Carl Weathers. Let's see. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yes, I forgot it was.
Really? What did he play? Was he one
military
of the
police?
Really?
Okay. The Bermuda Depths TV movie.
A lot of shit I've never heard of.
Serpico. Wait a second. Let me depths. Deep depths.
Oh man.
Scientists investigating the briny deep are threatened by a giant turtle.
Yeah.
And the spirit of a young brunette swimmer. Right?
Yep. That's the movie.
The briny depths.
I will have to see if I can find this too. I don't know how good it's going to be. I vaguely remember it, but what the hell? Populating my movie watch list. What? They don't have it on Amazon, bastards.
Oh, no, like I said, it was a TV movie, so I don't even know if it's a.
They actually do on DVD.
Cool.
Buy it. That's funny.
That's nuts. I will have to check that out. I'll see if they got it on YouTube first, but I'll just add this to my list here.
It would not surprise me if they did.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in a long time that just really, really stood out though, as far as horror movies go. I think I know The Descent. The Descent was pretty good. I remember that being creepy. I saw the Evil Dead remake in the theaters when that came out. That's been a few years ago. And I remember my wife wouldn't go with me. She just can't watch horror movies like that. She just screamed the whole time. But I was sitting next to this young couple. They were there on a date. And the girl had no idea what the fuck the movie was about. She had never heard of anything before. And I looked at her like, this is, you bringing her to this for the first date? Fortunately, she did not scream too much, sitting right next to me. But didn't care for the way that they changed it, but it wasn't bad for what it was. But yeah, I can't think of any other movies that were actually frightening movies rather than just relying on either jump scares or gore. And I'm cool with gore in movies, but I would like to see something that's legitimately suspenseful and frightening. I have to go back and watch the older stuff.
If you ever get a chance, check out the Vincent Price movie Theater of Blood, which also has Diana Rigg in it from the Avengers. A actor who is panned by all these critics and supposedly dies gets his revenge on all these critics by making them experience deaths, basically inspired by scenes from Shakespearean plays. So there's like the scene from what is it, Titus Andronicus, where the one mother is like fed her sons, and this critic is basically forced to eat his poodles. This very flamboyant critic who had these two poodles as his little babies, and that's just one of the weird scenes in it. And there are a bunch of others, and Vincent Price is just completely chewing on the scenery in a very grand, glorious way. And it has a bit of a surprise ending to it. But it's a fun little flick. I've recently acquired it on Blu-ray. I mean, I've seen it numerous times, but I finally saw that it was on Blu-ray, so I upgraded to have a physical copy of it in that format. Sad. There's certain things I've gotten like VHS, beta, laser disc, picture disc. It's just sad. But
and that, yeah. I like the movies where it's got that suspense, and it's legitimately frightening and not just
those movies are few and far between now. Doesn't seem to be a genre that's focused on too much lately, even in independent filming.
You'd think that there'd be more of a demand for that.
All right. I know the term horror movie, there was less of a demand for that name, especially after World War One. And specifically World War II.
Yeah, I suppose people want a little more lighthearted stuff at the time.
Well, yeah. What was happening was Hollywood was, and there was a lot of documentaries about the concentration camps and the horrors of that. So you really can't compare a fictional horror movie with characters and kind of camp when this had just happened to the country and the world, really. So, The Witch, Geeky, is that new? I don't know.
It's a few years old. It's the blonde girl with the strange eyes that just did that chess TV movie thing on Netflix is in it. She's she's in the new Viking movie as well. But yeah,
the Northman or something.
Yeah, the Northman. So, but yeah, Yeah, I've heard.
Oh
good
yeah,
things about
the Ring.
Mhm.
There, I know there were some movies in the early 2000s. One, what was it called? These paranormal investigators were going to be locked in an asylum for the night. What the fuck is the name of it? They made a second one, but the first one,
13 Ghost.
No.
I think I remember. Was 13 the ghosts involved that somebody was collecting ghosts or something?
I don't know, but this one
Captured
was
them
this one.
somehow?
All the paranormal entities they run into have that. There seems to be a trend in. Maybe it came out of Japanese horror movie where the entity opens its mouth really wide, like extra wide, like like a gate. This gate, like it dislocates its jaw, and that's the frightening aspect. I'm like, why across the board? A lot of these movies were doing that. They were having the ghost of the inmate. They show the camera pans into the corner of one of the rooms of the asylum, and on the left you see the abandoned wheelchair, and then there's someone like in a hospital gown with their back to the video camera light where you can hardly see anything, and all of a sudden it rushes towards you, and its face and its mouth is agape. I'm like, really? It's not that frightening. Yeah, maybe it is undead children and shit. Yeah, it's like I don't. It's weird how they do that. It's like a new trend with horror movies is to have either undead children or mental patients or zombies or whatever with dislocated jaws. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. The jump scare, I guess. After a while, after you see it once or twice, it's like, okay.
I don't know. Most of the horror movies I remember, well, all the stuff I've really watched a lot of or have seen is all older stuff. So I mean, there are things like George C. Scott movie called Changeling.
Changeling, that's very good. Yeah,
that's from like 1980.
That's more of a ghost story, and that was that was really
absolutely
solid.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's stuff like that, but it's stuff that with the exception of Vince, it's like most people haven't seen it. So.
And it's nice because it adds an extra layer because his character is a music composer, which you're kind of like keyed into your feelings more.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife and child had just died, so he's a grieving widow.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to revive his composing career, and he decides, I'm going to rent this fucking big creepy old mansion somewhere in New England.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that never goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's haunted. So, oh yeah, like
do these people not read horror or watch horror movies? Let's see this little inn. This place, Innsmouth, sounds like a great place to spend the fall. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there.
But
we're up there to get made.
Right. I wish somebody would do some really good H.P. Lovecraft adaptations that were the closest one I think that was on the mark was Resurrection, which was following Charles Dexter Ward, the one I mentioned before, which the Haunted Palace is loosely based on.
Mm-hmm.
The Resurrection with there's some well-known actors in that, and I can't freaking them at the moment. Somebody look that up. Bull Rush, look that up.
It would be tough, I think, to capture that mood.
I don't know who the director was, but they did very good with Dagon. That's Shadow over Innsmouth kind of stuff.
Dagon. That was like an Italian movie.
Yeah, the Europeans know mood and atmosphere very well when it comes to horror. They really know how to do it. But yeah, Dagon is very, very good.
Yeah, and
I was at the H.P. Lovecraft Festival and Literary Festival 2013, and they were showing that.
Yeah,
Bull Rush, huh? What?
And despite the one chick having tentacle legs, she's
pretty hot.
Cutie, yeah,
yeah, some big tits.
As Rob says,
Dagon,
totally
doable. Yeah, Dagon.
Same as the guy,
yeah.
or the Is it one of the great old ones? Is Dagon?
Yeah, it's one of H.P. Lovecraft's short stories, but it's actually it's a cross between the Dagon, the very short story, and Shadow over Innsmouth.
Yeah,
which
that's
the
fucking
British
creepy.
men.
If you ever,
It's been
there
a while.
is.
That's he's in the hotel room at some
Oh
point.
yeah, when they're trying to get
in
him,
the
when he's
door.
locking the door, and that's talk about mood and atmosphere. That's on the edge of your seat. There's a group of audio old school radio play guys. What the hell are they called? Fuck, they do adaptations of that, and they did the Shadow over Innsmouth, I think. They did the Whisper in Darkness, Call of Cthulhu, Charles Dexter Ward, and they may have done Shadow over Innsmouth. It's very good.
What would be probably interesting is At the Mountains of Madness.
Yes, I love that. That's one of my and Charles Dexter Ward are one of my favorites.
That would be. That would be a tough one to pull off.
What's his face?
Visual effects. They need a big budget for it.
What the hell?
They would have to flash back to all the stuff that happened originally. It was the Shoggoths that
the
were the
Shoggoths were the one,
slaves.
the proto Shoggoths, yeah, that were enslaving the
weren't they the slaves of
they were the slaves of the
was it the great old one? There's the ones that had the 5-sided symmetry.
They had a tetrahedron body. Yeah. What are we looking at here?
Deep Ones.
Oh, the Deep Ones. Yeah.
Yeah, from the Cthulhu mythos and the dungeons.
Yeah. Chris.
And demigods.
And then they rebelled against them and the whole thing. So they'd have to kind of flash back to that, which that'd be cool. I mean, if somebody could do it in a way that was not.
Well, Del Toro was supposed to actually do Mountains of Madness, and then he dropped the project. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
That sucks because that would have been.
Yeah, there's a funny one. There's a funny H.P. Lovecraft campy thing. What is it called? The last Lovecraft. Look that one up. The Last Lovecraft. That is.
Yeah, it was released. There's a Japanese manga available in English of At the Mountains of Madness.
Okay, I see this. The Last Lovecraft, Relic of Cthulhu.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let me get this straight. Your plan, which sucks balls, is to go find a fucking sea captain in the middle of the desert. It's pretty good. I agree. We're gonna nominate Robert as the archivist. We're gonna get him a robe and everything.
I'm almost frightened to see if I make an appearance in Laserdiscs. What
laser dicks?
Yeah, and
you probably will. You're gonna actually. It's funny you say that. You're gonna show up in the. I already have the outline for the second one, and that one I'll give you a quick hint. That one revolves around the Laser Dick Company going on vacation and falling into adventure.
Okay.
Yeah. A very Thulian adventure.
Okay.
So it's going to start out on a not so much a cruise ship, but a scientific cruise ship. That's all I'm saying. So,
okay. Not a Zeppelin?
An expedition?
No, it's definitely an expedition. You can already see where this is going. Yeah.
Okay.
Not a Zeppelin now. Although a Zeppelin may come in handy later. You know.
I probably have one back here somewhere.
Right, because I do draw heavily. I do draw heavily from Doc Savage.
Well, why wouldn't you? I mean, how many other people have ripped off Doc Savage or The Shadow?
Well, I'm not ripping them off.
I know.
I'm not ripping them off as a.
That's what I mean.
Homage.
It's like there's tons of people have ripped them off. The least someone actually respectfully paying homage. It's a different animal.
Exactly. the whole goring adventure that would be involved with my BDSM erotica, which I'm writing, but not. It's current. It's contemporary. That's I'm only about 4,000 or 5,000 words into that. I redid some of it because I'm doing it from the point of view of a different character. So that's all I'm saying. Because that's where the money is. Dirigible. Don't get all classy on us here. We're talking pulp.
Giant flying balloon.
That's pretty much. All right, I think we're gonna call it because it's 11:27.
It's 2:20.
Yeah, we've been going for 2 hours and 21 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah, we kept it brief. TJ brief.
Yeah, seriously. Of course.
Hopefully he gets his issue fixed, whatever it was.
There was supposed to be a Punch Riot online version, as in everyone in the past who's contributed to Punch Riot would get a login to this sort of membership, like basically a WordPress site, I assume he's going with. And you'd get an account. And what would happen is when I go to publish the 10th and final chapter of Laserdiscs, I would log into Punch Riot and I would post it and edit it myself. And that would be the online version. So I believe that's the plan that he had. So that technically tax day is what, the 18th? I think it was supposed to be the 18th. It's now the 20th. So yes, Mictivus, it is overdue.
I thought it was the 16th.
They changed it to the 18th.
I just need to file an extension. Tell them I'll
fuck them.
Do the crap in the summer.
Yeah, they don't have they don't have the employees to do any kind of serious.
There have been so many years where I didn't even file until after April, and it's just like I'm going to file an extension,
Yeah,
and then I'll just do it the next, because if you wait until first off, sometimes you don't get all your shit that you need for your taxes until like end of February, and then. I got more important things to do than give my money to the government. So I do it as late as I can.
Exactly.
All
right, we're going to call it. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. It's been an interesting talk.
Definitely.
Fun and a pleasure as always. Everyone who's in the chat now, thank you for hanging out with us and keeping us entertained as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. Ed's coming over from one of our main, one of two, but one of our more vocal and more visible fans from Twitch. Ed, thank you for joining us, and everyone who is listening. The people who will watch later for the 20 minutes. Thank you.
First 20 minutes. All the first 20 minutes at the end.
That first 20 minutes. Yeah. Hit the like button, hit that, hit the do all the things so we get and leave comments, all kinds of fun shit.
Give me your horror, your classic terrifying horror movie recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go ahead. Go into exactly what Drew said. Go into the comments and post your favorite horror movies and shit. Next week there will be a battle. TJ and I and a few other people are going to be meeting in Gettysburg on Tuesday the 26th. Location to be determined, but we're hanging out all week, the 25th through the 29th in Gettysburg, PA, or I should say Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
The Y is silent.
That will be cool. I was there once, long time ago.
Yeah, we'll do a Masculine Geek broadcast that Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about doing some from the battlefield this time. We'll see.
That'll be cool.
My phone. Yeah. So, all right. Give me your whore, bitch. Give me your whore. All right. Before we get on a tangent, no, we're not doing it. Shut up, Boris. Shut up. All right, everyone. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy the rest of the week, the upcoming weekend, and shall see you next Wednesday live from Gettysburg, PA. Until then, keep that wine flowing. Don't take any wood nickels. Keep the lead flying downrange. downrange. And Robert, what do you have final words to say?
All the good stuff was at the beginning.
Exactly. True.
So make sure you
Anything
watch till the end to find out that all the good stuff's at the beginning.
Exactly.
TJ, if you're watching, read your player's handbook.
I know. I wasted good money on you.
Yeah.
I'm like, here, just read the PDF. Just read about your range. That's all you have to read.
Yeah,
pages.
That's it.
It's all there. You don't have to read all the spell stuff and all the other things until you get to a level where you got them.
Exactly.
Just read the relevant parts.
Read that shit because we're all going to AD&D now. That's it. All right, gentlemen. Enjoy. Till next time.
Night, everybody.
Right.